This week on The Bachelor.
I'm so mad at him, I'm gonna beat him to death with a flip-flop.
Stephanie?
What?
I think he's still alive.
Get me my roller skates.
How will Stephanie with an FH persevere on her journey?
I feel so alone on my journey.
Well, he's been in a coma. Can she learn from her mistakes? Do you really think it's right for you to do a second season after you broke off your engagement from the first season after 20 seconds? Can she teach us about love?
I've matured a lot since then.
Since an hour ago?
Yes. Oh, Brad.
I'm Steve. So you gotta stay in the lines of the boundaries that you set for each other in a relationship.
I know relationships are a gamble, but I'm gonna grab all the falling poker chips.
Do you at least feel like you're growing as a
Definitely.
person?
This was a gift from my great-grandfather. It's been in my family for generations.
Why do you need a stupid watch? Don't you have a phone, silly? Oh.
Hello everyone, it's me, your favorite Bachelor host, Hydrated Gaming. Now how did I get this job? As a male gamer, there's two things that I know and understand very, very well. AV cables and women. I've been married for 3 years now, and everything I needed to know about true love I of course learned from video games. Stardew Valley taught me that if I want to get a girl's attention, I can simply bring her green onions that I may or may not have stolen from her neighbor's backyard. The Sims taught me that you can't just keep spamming flirt. Mix-ups are essential, a lesson I also learned in Melee. And maybe most importantly of all, The Legend of Zelda taught me that sometimes women just like a man who knows when to shut up. An important lesson for us all. But recently I asked myself, what if there was a game that focused exclusively on relationships? What if there was a game about a reality TV show where the world's most attractive contestants say that they can't find love, and that's supposed to somehow serve as motivation to the rest of us? All the models with the six-pack and 2 yachts are having a really tough time out there. How encouraging. If only there was a shallow and barely functional gaming experience that reflected our shallow and barely functional dating culture. If only there was The Bachelor the video game for Nintendo Wii systems. The second I heard that there was a Bachelor video game, I figured I should document it here as your host for this channel in order to ensure that future generations have access to all the lessons it teaches us. After all, The Bachelor TV show has been very educational for me in that it helps me get an idea as to what modern dating is like, and boy is it grim. Now, I'm not old, far from it, I tell myself as I struggle to stay awake past 9 p.m. I'm in my mid-20s actually, so you'd think I'd be a veteran of this terrible dating environment, just someone who somehow managed to make it out. The funny thing is actually no. See, Mrs. H and I met when we were back in high school, and we only ever dated each other, so I kinda just bypassed this part of the Gen Z experience. And that's how I ended up here. Now, because the game is called The Bachelor, I didn't think through what I was doing when I recorded this, and I selected to play as the woman character. So I guess this video is actually going to be about how to attract men. So ladies, if you're watching this, and you're most certainly not, this one's for you, I guess. The Nintendo Wii, WB Games, and Hydrated Gaming are going to teach you about how to land your dream man. And as for us gentlemen, I suppose this video should serve as a reminder of all the standards we ought to have should a woman take interest in us. Also, you're 100% of my audience, please don't go. Now our story begins with Stephanie, a constantly shivering med student who has just begun her journey looking for the love of her life. She's a blonde, and it's said that they have more fun. But this is The Bachelor on Wii, and as you'll soon see, there's no fun to be had here, so don't worry. Her journey has brought her into the big, strong arms of Jason Mesnick, seen here pondering life's big questions. If you're not familiar with The Bachelor TV show, I'll let you know how this works. You participate in a series of dates, and like all good dates, they involve playing Mario Party minigames. If you do well enough on the dates, you collect hearts, and if you have enough hearts, you make it past the elimination round. That could be a fun premise, but I have to tell you that there are rumors that Stephanie may not be here for the right reasons. Instead of looking for love, she may only be here to launch her influencer career, selling cosmetics to convince you that you too can one day look as fabulous as this, and maybe even open cans with your chin like it appears she's able to do, my goodness. As a result of her lack of real effort, she doesn't put much into mixing up the dates, so you basically just do the same 6 minigames. But that's not to say that there's nothing we can learn from them. So let's get into date number 1, inflating a balloon, the classic first date choice. In order to score well at this game, you're going to need to keep your little marker in the green section of the meter. Like with love, you have to be mindful with how hard you're pushing. Things take time in a relationship, and it's better to be steady and consistent than to push too hard, too fast at the beginning because you could potentially burn out. Date number 2 was driving in the Monster Jam, and this date stressed the importance of ensuring you're being conscious of the direction you're moving the relationship in. The path of life is seldom straight and defined, instead it weaves. There are twists and turns that relationships sometimes take, and the trick to managing that is making sure that you're paying attention to what's ahead of you and reacting appropriately. If you're not going down the right path, it can really slow down your progress as a couple. Another great reminder from our friends at Warner Bros. Interactive. Date number 3 was a lesson in timing and avoiding things and people that might hurt your relationship. In this case, that thing took the form of a giant snowflake bouncing around the screen like a DVD logo. With this, you're reminded that you can't always stay in one place and try to hold on forever. Sometimes when you see trouble coming your way, it's best to try to solidify your gains or cut your losses and try again elsewhere. Date number 4, identifying pictures. And this is probably one of the most important things to remember in relationships. Sometimes the way forward can look a little fuzzy. You see, it takes time to get a clear picture of what you're looking at, and you don't always have time to wait until everything is crystal clear. Sometimes you have to make decisions based on the best evidence available and trust your gut with the rest. But with that knowledge, it's finally time for our first one-on-one date, catching feathers thrown by other people. You shouldn't trust the Bachelor and Wii's definition of what one-on-one means, but you can trust the message that they're trying to teach you. Others may try to involve themselves in your relationship and sabotage things out of petty jealousy. You're always to remember though, words are like feathers, they can't hurt you, and they should only ever make you laugh. And after overcoming this, Stephanie is finally ready to move in for that big first kiss. At least I'm guessing they end up kissing. The camera pans away as this is rated T for teen, not M for mature. No kissing on the screen, please. After this special moment she had with our Bachelor, Stephanie can stand arms at sides in a stature of confidence, knowing that her rose is all but secure. Jackie, unfortunately, has been eliminated. No one will ever love her, and this is a warning as to what your life might be like if you don't heed the advice of the devs that brought you the Where's Waldo SNES remake, also on the Wii. With our victory, we also unlock a quiz which will judge how caring and kind we are. You too can then have other people take the quiz to test your compatibility. Mrs. H would answer on behalf of Stephanie with an FH, and I created Billiam the Accountant's profile to house my answers. I liked that he had the Count Dooku face expression. After these first 2 quizzes, the game told my wife and I that we were an absolutely terrible match, despite both of us agreeing that the best course of action if we see a homeless person begging for money is to walk by and make no eye contact. But that's only 20% accuracy, so as we unlock more of these, we'll check back in to see if the Bachelor on Wii supports our relationship or not. But it's time for the next round of dates. For the next date, it was time to do puzzles, and honestly, this is not a bad date idea, we should do more puzzles. But the lesson here is that you have to remember, looks can be deceiving. You see how this piece looks like it goes here? Well, apparently it goes up here, which makes no sense at all. But in this life, you'll meet people who just waste your time, so I guess this is a worthwhile lesson. Next date had us checking how heavy things are, and the lesson here is always ask your significant other how much they weigh. And while we're on a hot streak of good ideas, let's hit up the casino. This minigame serves as a reminder that in the modern dating scene, you don't need all the money in the world to impress someone. You just need to have more money than everyone else romantically interested in your partner. Truly an uplifting message. And next up, we have our first repeating game but with a new skin. It's not balloons this time, now we're making bread. Having repeated content 10 minutes into the game is not fun at all, but that could be the devs trying to tell us something here. They're demonstrating that some people, if they have disappointed you in the past, will try to say that they've changed, that they're a completely different person. And people are capable of change, so you should always be open to that, but a lot of times, it's the same old crap underneath a new coat of paint. I know it's Valentine's Day, but don't text them, bro. Put your phone down and pick up that Wii remote, soldier. And finally, we get to the absolute worst minigame in the game, tracing these stupid lines. The lesson here is that sometimes relationships can be miserable, but you need to be able to power through those. I sincerely hope that there's a point to this. And congratulations, you've seen all the content this game has to offer. For the next 3 hours, I just repeated these same handful of tedious and boring minigames. But perhaps this is one of those cinematic games where the gameplay takes second fiddle to the narrative. This could be a game for the critics, not gamers, so let's see where our story goes. After 5 more repeated dates, we see our handsome and suave Bachelor with his PS1 ears and shoulders so broad they could pop tires, and he is ready to make his decision, and the answer is clear. Stephanie has won his heart. After all they'd been through, after all the fun dates, after all the moments they'd shared, the hardships faced together, and the obstacles overcome, you see, dear viewer, the pain is worth it in the end because our story ends with a beautiful proposal of eternal commitment. Except forget that because it's time for Season 2 and we can forget that loser from Seattle because now we have a real man over here. Andy Baldwin from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. To me, this seemed a little depressing that winning over true love only served as a stepping stone to the next dude. Like, what kind of moral is this supposed to be impressing on the youth? But I was this far into the game, so I decided to go on. And what a good decision, because after like 4 more repeats, there was actually a new minigame here. I was wrong. A match 3 game, wow. Really groundbreaking new stuff here. This is why I play video games. I can only imagine how long it took to code and script out these intense T-rated sequences. This isn't at all a minigame that belongs in Jumpstart Kindergarten. This is definitely going to be a hit with the target audience. Like, how are you going to have this level of gameplay for 3-year-olds, but then hit them with questions like this in the quiz mode?
Does an unplanned pregnancy provide a good justification for getting married?
Speaking of the quiz mode, after unlocking a few more questionnaires, the game reluctantly admitted we'd at least make decent friends, but was unwilling to acknowledge anything more than that. Also around this time, we reached the Bee minigame, which is a reskin of the Feather minigame, but if you fail, the Bachelor actually dies. From here on out, 3 more men would fall before the vast power of the beautiful Stephanie with her luscious hair that looks like a Lego piece. Even the final boss, Brad Womack, didn't stand a chance after he was literally swept off his feet. And at that, we've reached the end of our journey. There is a 2-player mode because misery loves company. And to show this off, I was going to have my wife play with me, but believe it or not, she said that she didn't want to play this game. Can you believe that? So this amazing gameplay that you're watching is me attempting to play with 2 Wii remotes at the same time. And as for the quiz mode, well, after unlocking the rest of the questions by beating the game, even the Bachelor on Wii, who did nothing but demonstrate it had no respect for me, my time, and my money, had to admit, the Hydrated Gamings are the perfect couple. Other things of note, for the credits here, I refuse to believe that this many people worked on the game. I mean, at this point, they have to be thanking the pizza delivery guy that they called so that they could crunch and get this game out the door in 3 days. I refuse to believe this game was this big of an endeavor. I could code all this in like an afternoon, and I'm pretty sure they copy-pasted these models from Family Feud. Also, when doing the picture minigames, I was like, I swear I've seen some of these on Google Images. And sure enough, I checked, and there was a credit to Shutterstock here. Just incredible work. I also don't understand what's with all the subliminal gambling messages in this game. Like, why so many references to the casino? I had to check to make sure this wasn't an EA game. If it's not obvious already, this game is terrible. I actually think it's the worst game I've ever played in my life, without exaggeration. It makes the Crayola game I played for this channel look like frickin' Breath of the Wild. Do I recommend it to you? Absolutely not. Especially because if you watch the video this long, I have nothing but love and respect for you, my dear viewer. Or at the very least, I'd never wish this misery upon you. But to answer the question of the video, does The Bachelor on Wii teach us anything about love? And I think the answer is yes. The Bachelor on Wii is the perfect representation of something that has no love put into it at all. The game is the definition of phoning it in. All the content is recycled after 10 minutes, the character models are from a completely different game, the pictures are a result of them googling things like sandal and hitting copy-paste, 2 different bachelors have the exact same parents apparently. This game is just a game that existed to sell a few copies to some suckers who like the show. This is the opposite of love. You see, dear viewers, true love is not a feeling, it's a sacrificial action. It's the putting aside of your current wants and feelings and instead focuses on what 2 distinct people can build together as one combined force. The 2 shall become one flesh, as it said. That's love. When one party only looks out for themselves and is using the other for pleasure, comfort, or I don't know, money, well, that's how you get The Bachelor on Wii, the enduring image of what love isn't. And at that, thanks for watching Hydrated Gaming, and I hope you have a very happy Valentine's Day. Stay hydrated, my friends.